following is brought to you by ACT, Agora Center of Thought, here on the Voluntary Virtues Network, every Saturday night, 8 to 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. Join us as we dispel the illumination of status sophistry with the dark web of Agora's philosophy. Agora, Anarchy, Action.
Bienvenidos. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Agora Underground here on the, as y'all know, as y'all heard, Voluntary Virtues Network. It is April 4th, 8:03, 2015. And guys, do appreciate you guys for tuning in. We have been in hiatus. We have been missing in action AWOL for the last 2 months now. Last broadcast was February 7th, and it is April 4th, so that's practically 2 months there. Do apologize for that. I know that you guys have probably been eagerly waiting the next uploaded video or audio broadcast, so sure know how that's working out. But we are back, and we are ready to continue tackling power and market and Rothbard's masterpiece.
Yeah, breaking through the Rothbard. And yeah, like we said, we've been in hiatus. We've been, living in the status, paradigm, trying to break out of the matrix. But, we got something special for you here today. So, Rich, what's been going on, man? How you been?
Pretty good, D. Pretty good, man. Just continuously focusing on personal growth and, find the state every day, trying to eat healthier, be healthier, and got Truth Exposed regularly I do on Wednesday. So that's been going good, man. How about things with you?
Oh, everything's been going great for me, man. Just living, working, trying to make ends meet, and trying to fight the state like you, man. And sometimes I find it a little hard because a lot of people are really stuck in the mind state of appealing to their slave masters, the politicians and political elite. And it's just really hard to get across the point of view, especially with those that don't even want to hear anything that actually has to do with liberty, because I mean, like I said, they're stuck in their little status paradigm.
Yeah, we tend to live right here at the heartland of the brutality here, with San Antonio, Alamo Town being a heavily militarized town in the sense of basically a station for military people, Air Force in particular. That gets stationed here, and so every time Darian and I go out to the streets and try to converse with people about libertarianism and liberty, we're running into predominantly militaristically minded people, people that are very much in favor of the military, if not part of the military themselves. So quite interesting. I know a couple, about when was it? About a month ago, right, D? We went downtown with backwards flags, and
yeah.
Had at one point had 20 people around us chanting USA and trying to tear down our flag. And
you talk about
insanity.
Talk about insanity, and I mean, it's it was like seeing 20 people, shouting out because they couldn't make a point. They couldn't argue with us and bring up any sort of critiques or any sort of information that we can go to and later on read. No, they saw that the only solution to try to break down us, which they, like I said, tried and didn't succeed. They were shouting USA, USA, even brought out a flag. So looking at that, it was like, oh, the actual Walking Dead, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it seems like facts and logic weren't phasing them much, and they couldn't comprehend why people would be wanting to legitimately defend their land from invading hordes of foreigners, and they couldn't understand how ISIS is a government funded by force and coercion, just like our government, and they couldn't understand that we put a lot of these radicals into power, and they just couldn't understand much of anything. It seems like in their little utopian world, America is almost it's God. Yeah, there's no way America can do anything wrong. That's blasphemous to say such a thing. So it's nuts. It's definitely nuts what we're having to deal with. In fact, last night, going on a solo rant tour there downtown on our usual spot, actually had this little heated Asian guy, military guy, swinging at me, knocking off my ponytail. And I mean, luckily he missed. I ducked the second time he swung at me, and dummy fell on the floor. I don't know if he was inebriated or not. I mean, He didn't seem too much so. He was making some some articulate, as far as statements that weren't logical, but they were articulate. He wasn't slurring or saying idiocracy. So just complete logical fallacy. But yeah, the idea that freedom, he kept saying that he had the freedom to kick my ass, and it's just constant idea, right? That they just believe that they fought for our freedom to do these things, to go out and protest, and they don't understand that these freedoms are unalienable. They're inherent. They come out of our loins, as we continue to tell them. They emanate out of us for being human beings. We're simply being human beings. Having the reason and the ability to do such things gives us the right to do so. So
yeah, it's given us through I mean, especially if you believe in creationism or evolution. I mean, it's just given to us, man. Like, you can't take these rights away, and you cannot just like have the power. Oh, I have the power just to give you these things. I mean, who do you think you are, really? I mean, it must have been a trip for you, Richard, to really like hear this guy talking to you, non-violently, and then all of a sudden, like, him turn around and just try to attack you just because. And like I said, I mean, come on, they did not like for us to be talking about the government. They don't like us saying anything that goes against their initial beliefs. And why? Because you burst their bubble, and most people don't like their bubble to be burst. Now, I mean, we encourage everybody here to like look at different things, come to your own conclusions. But if your conclusion is that violence is the answer, and the only way that I can get my point across is if I hurt you. I mean, that's statism for you. That's the status mindset for you. I mean, it's absolute idiocracy, and it's ridiculous to its very core.
Yeah, to completely given up on what it means to be a human. Literally just passing that along to just allowing yourself to become a droid, a drone, a piece of machinery, a dog. For other men, and it's sad that people allow that to happen to themselves. But it happens, and it continues to happen every day. But ladies and gentlemen, this is why we are exposing in any way that we can the fallacies of government, this sophistry, the web of so-called enlightenment, false enlightenment, right? The enlightenment of the Illuminati, if you will. It's that blinds you to reason, blinds you to logic and facts. So you see it all the time and every day, and gonna read about it here with Rothbard. But before we do, some important things that have been happening here in the last 2 months, since we have been completely out of the loop as far as with communicating to you guys. A lot of interesting things happening. Everything from that professor there in what was it, Washington State, I believe, saying that understanding economics. Oh, I'm sorry, Los Angeles College in Los Angeles. Lisa Wade, PhD, saying that in sociology, she's saying that apparently if you understand economics, you're likely to be a bad person. She said that quote, you're more likely to not only be less likely to share and less likely to be generous to the needy, but you're also more likely to cheat, lie, and steal, according to her. Wow.
I wonder how you come to that conclusion.
Well, it's because she never stated which branch of School of Economics she was talking about.
See, that's your problem right there. You're not even specifying which school of economics. I mean, you're just saying, oh, if you try to look into economics in general. I mean, this seems a lot like a smear campaign on anybody who wants to understand further on economics. Like they're just trying to smear. It's like, oh no, don't question the initial economic system in our country. It's going great. Everything's gonna go great. We're gonna get more taxes off of you and pay for stuff that we don't need. And certainly that you don't want. So like, I don't know, man, it just really trips me out, because it's like I saw this post and I saw you post it, and it was weird, because I was like, this really does sound like people do not want you to understand how economics work.
Yeah, they definitely want to keep us economically illiterate. And interesting enough, she never specified what school of economics. So her statements about economics leading to you to be more likely to cheat, steal, and lie definitely applies if you're a Keynesian or if you're a Marxist. Yeah. I mean, her statement would be right on point. But you're right, Darian. She it leaves this aura of almost a nasty feeling towards economics as a science as a whole.
It's giving me gas right now,
And
man.
yeah, it's flatulence coming out here. So yeah, I mean, definitely we know how definitely they don't want you to just understand deductive logic, deductive reasoning, just breaking things down, analyzing things for yourself, and understanding economics. Because hey, as we've said here, and we'll continue to say, economics is the science of anarchy, of spontaneous order. And if you understand that, you have the tools suffice to bring down the state.
Yeah.
That's right. DEA agents are arrested for stealing Silk Road Bitcoins. And they're also the ones who apparently are the ones that orchestrated the whole murder for hire scheme.
Uh-oh.
So it's this bait and switch, this hey, I got something to sell sell you, and the second you buy it, you get busted type of scenario. And this really brings in the implications of the illegitimacy of even the person purchasing these services even being a legitimate person either. Right? It could have been a transaction conducted by the government from beginning to end. They put out the hit out there, they answered their own ad, and just because it took place on the Silk Road, they wanted to blame Ross with murder.
Yeah, then I guess it would also make the claims to even to take down Silk Road illegitimate. I mean, if they're the ones that set up the initial bust, as I can clearly put it, if they were to set that up, and then someone just went through with the actual article, then really they just set the guy, the owner of Silk Road, they set him up to
alleged, right?
Yeah, or the alleged owner.
Dread
Yeah, and they pretty much set him to take him down. And it's like, really, it's like, how am I guilty for something you posted and there's just some random person using this engine just happened to reply to that ad? How is that person going to be responsible for someone else replying to something that was fake?
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, if it was
without a doubt,
if it was a real article, I can kind of see. I mean, because for one, I'm not for killing anybody, but you know what I mean. Like, if it was a real article, then yeah, there's some argument to it. But if you're the people who actually set up the article, that was
what do you mean, the transaction, or what do you?
Yeah, they're the ones that set up the transaction. Then I can see illegitimacy to claim or to pretty much prosecute the guy for murder. But if it was an actual article, I mean, they still couldn't prosecute the guy for murder, but go find the guy who was trying to kill somebody.
Well, accomplice in murder is what, yeah. So, I mean, and this is over, I mean, I'm doing the math here. It looks like it's over $1 million worth of Bitcoin here. So that were stolen by several agents here. So definitely, look that up, read up on that. I mean, it's a perfect example to show to people that, the nature of the state, what the state does. You try to build your own bazaar. You try to allow people to trade and form contracts on their own. Hey, you better get ready to have a bunch of guns and dongs barking at your face, right? I mean, so yeah, pretty hardcore stuff. Definitely not fun.
Pretty status stuff,
Pretty status.
The usual status, bull crap.
Pretty status. Another big headline here for Alamotown, residents. For those of y'all here, you David Crockett offspring, bastards. Yeah,
the bastard sons.
Yeah,
of David Crockett.
Yeah, exactly. Former SA cop who was accused of rape is shot by his girlfriend in the throat. So pretty hardcore. This guy was accused of rape by a young 19-year-old, I believe, and in his own patrol car while she was in cuffs, type of situation, and completely overstepping his boundaries and his rights as a human being and going into that dictator mode. And hey, you know what, that alleged what do you call it, that alleged when someone blames you of something, accusation, probably had a lot of legitimacy. It seems like the girl did get raped if it took the girlfriend of this douchebag in order to shoot him in the throat to finally get him to calm the fuck down.
Well, yeah, in the article, it actually says that, they have reason to believe that he was shot by his girlfriend over this matter. In fact, I mean, yeah, freaking, of course, like, I'm pretty sure she's not the only one who wanted to shoot you. You know what I mean? Like seriously, I'm looking at your picture on here on the article posted up on Facebook, and I can't I can't even do it. I can't even look at it without wanting to. No, that you see, that's completely, like Rich said, stepping over your rights as a human being. You do not initiate any violence on anybody, and it's such and including something as heinous and sick as that. I mean, and these are the people, we're paying our tax dollars for. I mean, maybe no, they're not. I'm not saying they're not all like that, but there are those certain cells inside the police infrastructure, who have this mindset, who believe that just because they have a badge and a gun and power from the divine fucking state, they can do whatever they want. And it's ridiculous that we have allowed these types of people to just come inside the system and just completely corrupt our way of life, our way of feeling safe and secure. Is like, no, it was never there. It was never there because we've allowed status goons to run our streets.
Well, we know these are the kind of people that are attracted like flies to a light bulb when it comes to power. I mean, what kind of people do you expect to be putting themselves in a position of authority and higher leverage according to the law? I mean, just the way they do.
Yep, I hear that one. I'm gonna drink to that one.
Yeah. And basically, we had this big Indiana fiasco. Wow. I mean, talk about people not thinking things through at all. I don't know. I mean, the whole religious freedom bill here being proposed in Indiana, which I don't even know if the governor has signed it or not. I don't know. I know he's soon to decide on that. But apparently, this bill would, supposedly allow for businesses to discriminate against people for. In this particular case here, looks like sexual orientation. Y'all know this story well, and like the back of your hand. Everything from the cakes to the pizza parlor, that everybody that's getting targeted for wanting to refuse service for whatever reason that they want. And people apparently can't distinguish rights here, where the origin of rights, where rights come from, what rights do. Where they stem from, what are your rights? People don't understand that. You don't have a right to a cake that someone else is baking. You have the option of trading them, something for that cake. But if they don't want to trade, hey, you really can't force them. That's not your cake. I mean,
yeah, it's just like that. Like you can't go in his restaurant. It's like, yeah, then there's a bunch of other restaurants you can go to. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely, man. I mean, definitely. And it's like, why would you want to be given, if you're a person of a minority group, or if you're a person of alternative sexual lifestyle, why would you want to be giving your hard-earned money, assuming it's hard-earned, right? Your money to a bigot that doesn't like you. That makes a lot of sense. A lot of nonsense, a lot of status nonsense. Here we go with that illogicality that doesn't make any freaking sense. It's like these people have no understanding of economics. And they literally want to help make their bigoted, hateful, negative person that's looking at them, the evil, wicked witch of the East or whatever, make them more successful in the market and make them more, successful on a wealthy standpoint by forcing them to give you their business. I mean, come on now.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, let's say, Chef A has a business at, restaurant A, and he doesn't want a certain type of people. Let's say people who wear fedoras. He doesn't want these types of people in there. Well, a lot of people are gonna get mad because this guy chose not to have people with fedoras come in his restaurant, which he pays money for, and I mean, come on, he's the owner of the business. How are you gonna tell him? I mean, he has this choice, and it's like, okay, then what are you gonna do? People are gonna go protest outside of his restaurant. Well, that's gonna kind of give him a little bit of coverage. I mean, it may not be some good coverage, but hey, he got some Ken's 5 news cameras in front of his restaurant. I think you're kind of helping him out. And like Rich was saying, I mean, you're just gonna go there anyway. Oh, I came in here for a long time, and ever since this bill, you don't want me in here. It's just like, well, then why are you still coming here? You don't have to give me your money. You can go to restaurant B where the guy doesn't care if you wear a fedora.
Yeah, and that's exactly on point, man. And really what this comes down to, ladies and gentlemen, is realizing that before we get to the final point here, it's also important to note that there are libertarian, there are proprietarian people that happen to be homosexual or transgender within the liberty movement. You know what I'm saying? There's people, in other words, there's not every gay person, not every transgender person, not every lesbian is a commie, right? Is anti-property rights. There are LBGYT community people, members in the liberty movement. I mean, so this is it has nothing to do with racial politics and everything to do with economic understanding that they don't want you to understand, because it makes you into a mean person, or you start allowing for businesses to discriminate. Hey, and let's think about this, guys. What popped in my head the other day is like, what if sexual, intercourse with, prostitution, in other words, was legal? What? Oh, prostitutes can't refuse service? No, they can't choose.
Yeah,
they have to give service.
They're already, voluntarily putting their, body out on the market, but they could choose, who their customers are. You know what I mean? Like,
on whatever basis, right?
And look, I want the listeners to understand. Me personally, I'm not racist. I'm not, a bigot towards, sexual orientation or, whatever floats your boat. I'm none of that. What I do have a problem with is, I don't like the fact that people say, oh, well, you're a free human being, but no, you can't make choices like that.
Yeah.
It's not fair
on
to
your property.
To other people.
On your property, you can't make choices like that.
It's like telling the guy who's the known asshole and always saying some dickhead remark to somebody that he can't say things like that because it hurts people's feelings. It's like, well, really,
it hurts people's feelings. So hey, let's just keep the asshole in business.
Yeah, for real. Like, come on. Think of it this way. You have a choice to do whatever you want in this world, as long as you're not aggressing on anybody else's rights. And this is natural rights we're speaking of.
Yeah.
I mean,
property rights fit in there.
Yeah, and property rights are definitely in there. And so if you're an owner of a business, like me personally, if I had a business, I wouldn't want cops. How many of you agree with that?
Oh, there was that case in, I believe it was Seattle or Washington up north, Washington State or something. But Portland, or I don't remember exactly where, but somewhere definitely up there, northwest. And yeah, that's exactly what happened, man. It was an anarcho-syndicalist coffee/tea shop, and they were refusing service to a cop. And some lady complained. That they were refusing service to a cop, and they made a big deal out of it. And I don't know if they eventually had to give service to cops or whatever, but yeah, I mean, we don't realize that. People from all strands of life, from all walks of life, are going to be able to discriminate however they see fit. We're going to see places that are non-discriminatory at all, right? Because they want to make the most money they can make. There's going to be other places that want to cater specifically, the Black Islamic nation. They're going to probably have a blacks only meeting. I mean, seems pretty logical. If you think that the white man's the offspring of the devil, you're probably not going to want the white man coming into your meeting. So, I mean.
Yeah, I mean, but even at this, like, okay, what if people want to start up a club, and it's like it's a club
male only or women's only,
or women's or even blacks only,
or gay only club, or swinger only club, right?
Or anarchist only,
yeah,
libertarian only, clubs. I mean, that's a pretty neat idea if you think about it, because it's only exclusive to a certain type of people. This is a good place to socialize, and it actually is not a really bad business idea either. I mean,
yeah, it's ridiculous, man. It's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous, how people are just so they're stuck. They're stuck in the status freaking matrix, man, and they're stuck. In the paradigm of just idiocracy. And it's like, come on, man, seriously.
And really, Darian, it's no surprise, because when you read these
articles, it's not a surprise at all.
When you read these talking head mainstream media articles about these laws, these discriminatory laws that would give businesses the right to discriminate, they always show pictures every single time. Like, it's almost like you better expect it, because it's coming. They're going to show you a picture of some publicly funded pool, that says no blacks. Or they're going to show you a picture of the whites only water fountain at a public school and the blacks only water fountain. They're going to show you a picture of the bus subsidized by the city with blacks in the back, whites in the front. They're going to show you pictures of those things that are paid for by our taxes, ladies and gentlemen. Big difference here. Huge difference. If we're all paying into it, if you're a taxpayer into a system, into a park, into a road, into anything, we all have equal access. The government logically cannot discriminate on that level. They cannot.
Yep.
But when it comes to private businesses, ladies and gentlemen, that's a whole other picture. Now, it does get cloudy when you start considering highly subsidized businesses. Do they have a right to discriminate? Probably not. You're so long as you continue to receive money from the government, you're gonna have to follow government.
You're like the
rules.
least likely to discriminate.
Right, or rather, you shouldn't be allowed to, because you are receiving money from the government. I mean, if you're receiving taxpayer benefits in some way, you can't discriminate. You don't have that right anymore.
Yeah.
This is what hey Darian, and wrap up this point here, ladies and gentlemen. D, this is how they're going to destroy. This coming from a perspective of you and I and our conversations here on a personal level. This is how they're going to destroy outward Christianity, bro. Because they're eventually going to force, since churches are now 501c3 and part of the government under anti-discriminatory laws, it's a matter of time until the government forces churches to start ordaining gays, lesbians, women as ministers, even though that's not what they want to do or whatever, and start marrying gays and all this.
Yeah, it is a matter of time.
They're
just laying down the stepping stones towards that.
So religious freedom out the window,
Yeah, modern day Inquisition, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, definitely. Under saving the world, why are we gonna save the world, and peace and equality? That kind of
a new world order.
Yeah.
It's oh man.
It's
but,
hard.
It's hard, but it's up to people with libertarian mindsets. And, even if you have that little fire of freedom and you're carrying it inside you, it's up to you. Truly, if you're listening to this, you are the resistance. Why? Because you have the power to obtain more knowledge than the statist paradigm is giving you. And you've gone this far. So it's hard, but we're going to keep on fighting.
It's a constant uphill battle, isn't it? Right? You constantly got to be climbing.
Oh, man, I'm going to be running up that hill with the ANCAP flag and the black flag in another hand.
And the Agora's flag right behind you. My back.
Yeah.
Yep. Can't forget about the transhumanists either, right? The black and blue.
I'm pretty sure every class of anarchy is going up that hill to fight statism. We're all in one big battle with them.
Yeah, I see a bunch of red flags though at the bottom of the base of the hill. You know what I'm saying? They can't really go much further there. So, a bunch of orange and red flags. Anyway. Yeah. So okay, let's get this show on the road here. That's basically a little sum up of some of the things that have been going down.
Now we're about to break down some Rothbard.
Yeah, I mean, other than the nationalization of the internet. I mean, that happened in the last 2 months too. I mean, basically, you got the whole internet nationalized now. Public commodity. Here we go. Public works. Yeah. Let's see how that one works out for us.
Yeah.
Probably won't be hearing us here on YouTube much longer now. But we don't know, ladies and gentlemen. It might get kind of crazy here. So I'm gonna open up the screen share. Let's see here. Entire screen. Share that. Beauty. Yeah. We're gonna zoom in over here. This is where we were from last week. Don't know what's going on here. Okay, here we go. Zooming in. And we were on part D of, I believe, triangular intervention. Whoa. Not good. But let's see here. We were on part D, okay, of triangular intervention under tariffs. I was jabbering a couple months ago. So I remember finishing it up here on this last paragraph, where truly we are now back in a situation of the isolated or barter economies of Crusoe and Friday. And that is effectively what the tariff principle amounts to. This principle is an attack on the market. And its logical goal is the self-sufficiency of individual procedures. It is a goal that, if realized, would spell poverty for all and death for most. Of the present world population, I thought that was another sentence. I'm sorry. So yeah, most people would die definitely if we got rid of, if we went self-sufficiency. If terrorists ruled the world and no one was allowed to trade anybody, and they encouraged us to be self-sufficient, and no one was allowed to trade anything with anybody, which is, marching us towards serfdom, towards socialism, then yeah, I mean, most of us would die off. most of us fat asses can't grow our own food or hunt our own food or build our own shelter. We would just literally become cannibals or die.
Everybody, the statist people are gonna be like, "Oh, government,
yeah,
why?"
Right. So he's saying here that these tactics, right, tariffs essentially lead civilization towards regression, right, towards barbarism. A mild tariff over a wider area is perhaps only a push in that direction, but it is a push. And the arguments used to justify the tariff apply equally well to a return to the self-sufficiency of the jungle. And that's what a lot of ANCOMs and what do you call them? Anarcho environmentalists, anarcho naturalists,
primitivists.
Primitive. There we go. Okay, word is escaping me here. Essentially, that's what they want to go back to, right? They want to destroy the market because they believe it is detrimental to the planet and the ecosystem of the
oh
planet.
Yeah, actually, I had saw a little like something someone shared, and it said, and it was pro anarcho primitivist, or just the primitivist mind state. They were saying, oh, no war, no debt, no government, and it was a picture of like some tribe, and I was just like, no war. Tribes had fights with each other all the time. Like, are you serious? Like,
oh yeah, without machines, you can't make enough to get you satisfied. You got to take the rest from everybody else. So yeah,
and it also
the lack of machinery creates strife, right? Amongst
it also says something about no unjust laws, and it was like, really, I'm pretty sure the chiefsman or the chief, the head honcho of the tribe, that so-called alpha, male kind of role, that he can pretty much lay any sort of law on the tribe. So, and you can kind of see this. I mean, have you seen the Lord of the Flies? I mean, come on. It was crazy. It was a crazy movie.
Boot Camp 101, bro.
Yeah. They can
a bunch of kids together on Gilligan's Island,
and they end up killing each other.
Yeah, a bunch of kids.
Yeah.
That's how they see humanity, isn't it? Childish.
And that's what it's gonna become if we embrace primitivism. Like, look how far we come. Why would we walk backwards?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't make any sense, but that's what they want to do. And that's what here keenly. This is a very good point, because when you think about it, it makes sense. Tariffs encourage primitivism. You're trying to deindustrialize the people. You're trying to de-incentivize people. You're trying to break down the division of labor, the market, the Agora. Right. This is a problem that we as producers stand against, as thinking rational men stand against, and women. So one of the keenest parts of Henry George's analysis of the protective tariff is his discussion of the term, quote, protection. He says that protection implies prevention. What is it that protection by tariff prevents? It is trade. But trade from which protection essays to preserve and defend us is not like flood or earthquake or tornado, something that comes without human agency. Trade implies human action. There can be no need of preserving from or defending against trade unless there are men who want to trade and try to trade. Who then are the men against whose efforts to trade protection preserves and defends us? The desire of one party, however strong it may be, cannot of itself bring about trade. To every trade, there must be two parties who actually desire to trade and whose actions are reciprocal, right, are mutual. No one can buy unless he finds someone willing to sell, and no one can sell unless there is some other one willing to buy. If Americans did not want to buy foreign goods cannot be sold here, even if there was no tariff, right?
Yeah, exactly.
The efficient cause of the trade, which our tariff aims to prevent, is the desire of Americans to buy foreign goods, not the desire of foreign products or producers to sell them. Wow. So you're just breaking it down here.
Yeah, I mean, broke us off a little bit of knowledge there.
Yeah. It is not from foreigners that this protection preserves and defends us. It is from ourselves. We're not allowed to make these choices because we would choose the foreign good, and that's bad for us. And so we have to put a higher cost on it. So you don't choose the foreign good because you don't know how to choose what's best for you.
Ridiculous.
Got to protect you from competition from the market. That's wow. Who was that? That was a good quote there. That was from let's see, section 28. That was George. Protection or free trade, pages 45 and 46. Also on free trade and protection.
I believe it's George Henry.
Henry, right? That's what it said. Yeah.
Yeah, in the beginning.
Yeah. Whoa. So we have to go this. We have to do that now. My nieces.
Whoa, what's going on?
Oh man, I jumped ahead. I'm sorry, folks. Here. We got the NSA taking over the computer here. George's, Henry George's. Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, so that's just a killer quote right there. Badass quote. Yeah, I mean, who are they trying to protect us from, right? They call it a form of protectionism, but who are they really protecting, and what from? So ironically, the long run exploitative possibilities of protective tariff are far less than those that arise from other forms of monopoly grant. For only firms within an area are protected, yet anyone is permitted to establish a firm there, even foreigners. As a result, so that's a very interesting point right there. Ironically, the wrong line exploitative possibilities of the protective tariff are far less than those that arise from other forms of monopoly grant. For only firms within the area, right, that has the protective tariffs are protected. Yet anyone is permitted to establish a firm there, even foreigners. So all you would have to do to circumvent the tariff is set up a branch of your company within the area that has a tariff, and you can have your goods there. So it's also a way, of attracting business to your area if you have enough money there, I guess. I don't know, but most people would just run away from that. Most business people would just run away from tariffs, not want to deal with them, right? As a result, other firms from within and without the area will flock into the protected industry and the protected area until finally the monopoly gain disappears, although misallocation of production and injury to consumers remains. Wow, that makes so much sense. Since say San Antonio puts a tariff on beef, so any beef imported outside of San Antonio has a higher cost. So people are going to be rushing into San Antonio to sell their beef. Why? Because you can now compete with these higher costs that the tariff is imposing on the foreign beef. But eventually you're going to have so many people coming into San Antonio and offering beef that the gain is going to balance out to where it's not even worth it. The tariff doesn't even matter anymore. The price of the local beef has matched the price of the foreign beef. So there's no incentive to even invest there. But as Rothbard points out, it creates a misallocation of goods. People are wanting to invest in areas just because the government has incentivized them to, and normally it wouldn't happen like that. We wonder why there's a McDonald's at every corner, right? Springing up every month.
If it's not in the interest of government, then I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
Uncle Sam would tell me not to. It's like, what?
Right. So yeah, obviously in the long run, therefore a tariff per se does not establish a lasting benefit, even for the immediate beneficiaries. There's no guarantee it's going to work for too long. Because the market is, if you read Manny Economy State, the market is constantly adjusting itself. I mean, price, supply and demand, people's stock, people's availability, everything is constantly adjusting itself. So
yeah, and that's where you can, accurately see the evidence of human action. I mean, because human action, shifts in itself. So you can see that with the economy. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
It's natural, just like anarchy is.
Nah, man, it's the most unnatural, inhumane thing ever.
Hey, pipe down, status.
You bastard. You reducing people to how much they can produce.
Like that dude. You better turn that flag right side up.
Oh, yeah, like that Baptist guy.
Crazies.
Many writers and economists, otherwise in favor of free trade, may have conceded the validity of, quote, infant industry argument for a protective tariff. Oh, we got to protect the small business owner from the foreigners.
Little baby, we
got to protect the mom and pop shop from the foreigners. They can't compete.
No, that's funny. They call it infant.
A few free traders, in fact, have challenged the argument beyond warning that the tariff might be continued beyond the stage of infancy of the industry. This reply, in effect, concedes the validity of the infant industry argument. Aside from utterly false and misleading biological analogy, which compares a newly established industry to a helpless newborn baby who needs protection, the substance of the argument has been tested by Taussig. Quote, the argument is that while the price of the protected article is temporarily raised by the duty, eventually it is lowered. Competition sets in and brings a lower price in the end. This reduction in domestic price comes only with the lapse of time. At the outset, the domestic producer has difficulties and cannot meet the foreign competition. In the end, he learns how to produce the best advantage, and then can bring the article to market as cheaply as a foreigner, even more cheaply. So right, so if the guy, that's a good point too. If the local guy never has to feel that struggle, that competition, if you never allow them to feel that competition with the foreigner, what's going to incentivize them to become any better, to produce any kind of better product?
Yeah, it's giving them the push.
Right. Or I better do this, or else I'm going to lose business. Right. I mean, it's a self.
Better step up my game.
Better step up my game. But now if you put the tariffs on the foreign products, well, what incentive now? They can just remain the same. It doesn't matter if the Chinese are making a more efficient product. We can make our same old crap because it costs the same. Ridiculous. Just the status tendencies everywhere, like people just wanting to live leisurely, nicely, comfortably, securely for infinitum,
Yeah, feeding off the lifeblood of liberty.
Yep. The working class, the investor class, the capitalist class, working off all them. It's crazy. So here Rothbard is saying that after this quote here, thus older competitors are alleged to possess historically acquired skill and capital that enable them to outcompete any new rivals. Wise protection of the government granted to the new firms, therefore, will in the long run promote rather than hinder competition. I guess that's what their argument is. The infant industry argument reverses the true conclusion from a correct premise. The fact that capital has already been sunk in older locations does, it is true, give the older firms an advantage. Even if today, in the light of present knowledge and consumer wants, the investments would have been made in new locations. But the point is that we must always work with a given situation, with the capital handed down to us by the investment of our ancestors. The fact that our ancestors made mistakes from the point of view of our present superior knowledge is unfortunate.
But the lesson was learned.
Yeah, but we must always do the best with what we have. We do not and never can begin investigating from scratch. Indeed, if we did, we should be in the situation of Robinson Crusoe on the island, right? Facing land again with our bare hands and no inherited equipment. Therefore, we must make use of the advantages given to us by the sunk capital of the past. To subsidize new plants would be to injure consumers by depriving them of the advantages of historically given capital. Wow, that's a very good point. Like, even if you're helping these new industries out, why should we help these new industries out, right? I mean, if the old industries are way more efficient and better at things, well, isn't that what's best for the consumer? Like, why should we be charging the consumer more now in order to allow new businesses to flourish? I mean, the ones that will flourish will be the ones that come up with innovation or do things better, figure out a better method of doing things.
Yeah, for the sake of the consumer.
Right. Which we all are.
Yes.
But
as a business owner, you're gonna try to appease to the demand, to your customer.
Bro, I'm an income. I'm not a consumer, bro.
Oh, I'm pretty sure you also receive some sort of subsidy.
I'm on Ancom, bro. I'm not a consumer. Just check out my leather jacket and all my tattoos.
Got it at
my
Hot
iPhone.
Topic, and
Yeah.
yeah,
My
then
boots,
went to the mall for it.
iPhone, and all these piercings and tattoos I got.
It's like, yeah, whatever, dude. I'm very much for punk rock, but I don't wear a uniform like that.
Yeah, right. It's a state of mind for us.
Yep.
So, in fact, if long-run prospects in the new industry are so promising, why does not private enterprise, ever on the lookout for a profitable investment opportunity, enter this new field? Only because entrepreneurs realize that such investment would be uneconomic. An example, it would waste capital, land, and labor that could otherwise be invested to satisfy more urgent desires of the consumers. As Mises points out and says, the truth is that the establishment of an infant industry is advantageous from the economic point of view only if the superiority of the new location is so momentous that it outweighs the disadvantages resulting from the abandonment of non-convertible and non-transferable capital goods invested in the older established plants. If this is the case, the new plants will be able to compete successfully with the old ones without any aid given them by government. If it is not the case, the protection granted to them is wasteful, even if it is only temporary and enables the new industry to hold its own at a later period. The tariff amounts virtually to a subsidy, which the consumers are forced to pay as a compensation for the employment of scarce factors of production for the replacement of still utilizable capital goods to be scrapped and the withholding of these scarce factors from other employments in which they could render services valued higher by the consumers. Wow. Mises breaking it off. It's a subsidy. Who would have known that a tariff was a subsidy for the guys that aren't getting tariffed? Because you can go up on prices now. Makes sense.
Gotta break it off a little bit of Mises.
That's right. Breaking it off. And yeah, he was a minarchist. Okay, yeah, we get it. This is also before Anarcho-Capitalism came about, thanks to Rothbard. So I'm sure Mises would probably be an ANCAP today in today's perspective.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Definitely more radical than even like Peter Schiff. I mean, I don't mean to call out names here, but
I don't mean it's like don't mean to call anybody out.
Yeah,
but I'm just
I'm just saying
I'm just freely stating.
Yeah, this guy's pretty radical here.
Yeah,
and we don't agree with everything every person said, but when they're quoting here, them we're taking what's being brought to us here page by page and word by word and phrase by phrase or whatever, concept by concept,
breaking it down,
and we're analyzing it, and we're not jumping ahead. We're not trying to nitpick at what they might have said in this and that book. We're trying to analyze what's being said, and there's been points that we don't fully agree, and there's been most of the time we do agree, and it's just awesome. It's just great to do this. It feels great, to open up those valves of your brain.
Yeah, it's like opening up a forbidden book, and you're like, oh shit, this is why they don't tell anybody about economics. This is why they this stuff ain't out there for everybody to see.
It'll make you a mean, angry person, bad person in the eyes of all the social engineering.
He's like, man,
megalomaniacs.
Move along, status. Move along. Get out of here.
Yeah.
With all that nonsense.
Yeah. So, in the absence of tariffs, the migration of industries to better locations is postponed until the capital goods invested in the old plants are worn out or become obsolete by technological improvements, which are so momentous as to necessitate their replacement by new equipment. Awesome. And commies always want to cut back on materialism and all this, right? The overspending, the overstimulation of the economy. And this is like a main argument here. Like if we would have stuck to gold and silver, there would have never been this momentous explosion of a McDonald's at every corner, a Walmart on every block. A bullet being created for every dollar we spend on taxes. Like, I mean, there wouldn't be all this. simply put, there wouldn't be this over materialism, this overspending. Why? Because people would be limited to the gold and the silver and reserves and savings, and that's it. That's all you can have an investment on. I mean, so humanity probably would have grown at a more reasonable rate. Things would have, been more reasonable, more natural growth instead of this cancerous, almost like a turmeric,
the cancerous middleman,
malignant beast that is the Federal Reserve, that is fiat currency, right? And that is low credit ratings applied by the Federal Reserve. So
yeah, and I get what you mean. Like you can only invest pretty much what you have. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, what do you mean on that one? Break that one down. What do you mean?
Well, I mean, like, okay, like you were saying, you reserve like, gold and silver. I mean, and you can't really,
Yeah, so the banks are holding the reserves, the savings, and
yeah,
that's all they can lend out. I mean,
yeah, that's all you can get. So, I mean,
yeah, so you don't have all these government grants being given to everybody at a thin air where they get to start businesses or start a franchise, continue the McDonald's franchise or all this crap.
Exactly. That's what I was saying. I mean, you can only it would have started more naturally, and because people would have only been able to grow from what they had.
Yeah, from what they say, like, definitely, man, definitely. Yeah, that's exactly it. That's exactly the point I was trying to make. Instead of all this, right? Because people would have left the sunken capital there instead of investing in new businesses everywhere, springing up like nothing.
If it wasn't for government subsidies,
Exactly.
I don't think McDonald's would have been on every street corner.
Nah,
you know what I mean? Like he would have really had to work his way up.
Yeah, and I mean, and franchising is like on there with IP laws and stuff. That's a whole web of mess of BS there. So we do encourage you guys breaking this down, and we are on our last paragraph here before we get into immigration restrictions. So let's just kill it out here, and we'll leave immigration for next week. Which hey, that's a badass topic right there, right? I mean, immigration, that should be fun.
It's, for the statists, they're probably like, oh, this is a touchy subject.
Yeah, right. So logically, the infant industry argument must be applied to interlocal and interregional trade as well as international. Failure to realize this is one of the reasons for the persistence of the argument. Logically extended, in fact, the argument would have to imply that it is impossible for any new firm to exist and grow against the competition of older firms wherever their locations. New firms, after all, have their own peculiar advantage to offset that of existing sunken capital possessed by the old firms. And that's so true, right? I mean, the old guys have their old printers invested, the Express News, right? You have this one building where you have all your old ass printers there and, printing presses, and you can't move that. It's sunken cost capital there. So if that wasn't the best location and you screwed up, someone else can find a better location. If they came up with a better printer afterwards, 10 years afterwards, someone else could invest it on that better printer. And now you have sunken costs there, an old printer that you still haven't paid for sitting there. So it makes perfect sense, man. And if you just break it down, new firms can begin afresh with the latest and most productive equipment as well as on the best locations. The advantages and disadvantages of a new firm must be weighed against each other by the entrepreneurs, right? The investors and the entrepreneurs and capitalists in each case to discover the most profitable and therefore the most serviceable course to take. Boom. Boom-bity bombity beam. Bah.
Yeah.
Killing it.
Killing it. We want to thank you guys for, tuning in and listening,
always an honor, right?
It's always an honor, and they're really, that book's really breaking it down. And we go ahead and encourage you to, if you want to jump ahead of us, check it out. And
yeah, definitely, yeah. Power Market, keep up with us as we're reading it through.
Yeah, and feel free to jump ahead if you're a speedy reader.
Yeah, right. Feel free to shoot us some comments if you guys. We're gonna figure out how to do some open calls. Eventually down the line, and we just been working on getting a green screen in here, and getting you guys some visuals, and it's been a little slow. We've been dragging a little bit, but
like you said, we're running up a hill.
We gotta build up that repertoire, you know. We gotta build up that experience, if you will, before we give you all the final polished product. That way, the ride, you know, it's nothing but uphill. You know, we like keeping it at an incline.
We're starting off real gentle, like
yeah, like keeping things on an incline, laid back.
Well, all right, ladies and gentlemen, my name's Darian, and we want to thank you for tuning in.
Definitely, you've been here with Comrade Dick on the Agora Underground. I'm gonna leave you off with this recording here. We still got to add music to it, but that's the end, guys. We do appreciate you guys. Laissez-faire, guys.
You have been listening to the Agora Underground. Tune in next week for more. Laissez-faire, comrades.